Proszę o wsparcie w postaci łapki w górę oraz udostępnieniu filmu na innych platformach social media.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable lady, it was just another time that I could hear about some, let's say, crucial misunderstanding in this House, in this committee, about the differences between the Commission, European Commission, and the European Court of Accountants. And you call it differences in calculation, right? In methods of calculation. So this is worrying. This is really scary. And since this is the second time I'm honored to be able to put this question, I would rather turn to Mr. President of this Commission with my request to present the Commission with some document that would illustrate this difference or these differences. What are you using? Different calculus? What is it? How can gathering of hundreds and thousands of bookkeepers and good accountants have differences? So please explain this to us. Please, dear lady, most honorable representative of the Commission, please present the Commission with some document, because you have some disagreement, some very fundamental disagreement. And the second point I wanted to make, since because of that disagreement, you are talking about prognosed reimbursements of money. Do I understand well that some money will have to be, let's say, given back by the Commission because it was spent based on this misunderstanding? Then it is understandable that if the Commission is going to, let's say, lose some money in the future, it is going to be even more determined to get more money from the European taxpayers by imposing the new European taxes. And going back to my motherland, to my home country, you should know that the imposition of the European taxes was totally unconstitutional, because the Constitution puts this obligation to the government to present a separate bill, and this bill was supposed to go through the Parliament. So it wasn't. So since you are so preoccupied with democratic standards and legal procedures in our countries, to the degree that you withhold some money, you don't want to give the money back to our countries from time to time, and that procedure was applied to Poland, you should know that the very fact that your European Commission's new taxes, that is, that European Commission's debt that is going to be repaid by our children, grandchildren, grandchildren, that this is unconstitutional. So everything should stop unless you explain what is the difference in calculation, unless we eliminate this difference, this disagreement. No European taxes should ever be imposed all over Europe, and the European Commission should be declared bankrupt. Thank you very much.
All right. I think the first part of the question referred to the different definitions that Court of Auditors and Commission use for the error rate, or the definition of a financial error. That's very, I think, not very difficult to provide the members with the different definitions. And the second part was more like not a question, concrete question, but a political point of view concerning future debts. I understood. Are there any more questions? If that's not the case, personally, I would like to...
Sorry, sir, can we get this in writing?
In writing?
What the disagreement is about? What are the differences? Can we have some document that would document and illustrate this difference?
If you, I try to understand what kind of difference you mean. I understood that you are talking about the different definition of error rate between the Commission and the Court of Auditors.
No, sir. I'm referring to the very words that the lady here spoke today, and the words that Mr. Murphy had spoken several days ago, and it was confirmed by the representative of the Commission while they were exchanging their views. I mean, Mr. Murphy and Mr. Hahn.
Yeah, Mr. Murphy is the president of the Court of Auditors. So,
he remembers what he said.
Yes, I do, and I think I try to understand it. If maybe you can elaborate in a written form what kind of definition you would like to have, or maybe elaborate on that writtenly, and then we will gladly answer. Maybe one.
I'm referring to the differences that you mentioned. No, I don't invent them. You say there are some differences, so please tell me what differences.
Yeah, but I could repeat for the third time. I won't do. I have a question concerning the RRF. Again, don't worry, I will not ask you again about the press leakage. But since we're here, and it became very obvious that the RRF will play a major role in the discharge. And we need to have some lessons learned here. Not only because, it might affect maybe not as a blueprint, but might affect the future MFF in some parts, but maybe just because the next crisis is on our doorstep without us knowing about it. So could you, because DG Budge has an overview, unlike other DGs, could you maybe elaborate in general what your views on the RRF are, if you had the chance to program it again, if we are at the same situation, if we are about to talk about the future MFF. Can you elaborate, maybe, for example, on cross-border cooperation or the involvement of regions? What is your general view on that? I think it's very important to understand in order to have lessons learned.
Yes, thank you. And indeed, this is very important that we, and this is the process in which the Commission is following up on the political guidance of the Commission and the mission letters. We are bound to draw the lessons from the past years and look at what has worked and what has not worked throughout the different instruments, so that it informs us in the design of the new instruments for the next multi-annual financial framework. The RRF was conceived as an emergency instrument for a very specific objective in terms of recovery and rebuilding our economies in a more resilient manner. It was developed in a couple of months and was really designed for this crisis situation. When we look at it critically in the positive and negative sense, and this is what we are doing for every single instrument throughout the Commission. We are doing what we call spending reviews with our colleagues in the Commission, looking at what has worked, what hasn't, in order to inform our next proposal. We see that the Recovery and Resilience Facility has not performed ideally in four dimensions. One is the regional dimension of the Recovery and Resilience Facility, which has not allowed to have an involvement of the regional dimension to a desirable level, at least in some countries. It has been done very differently throughout the different countries. One example is, for example, Belgium, in which the RRF was conceived by the three different regions. So here the regional dimension was extremely strong, but it might not have been the case in all plans. So this is one dimension in which we think that it has not performed optimally. The second element where clearly the facility has not been optimally performing is the cross-border dimension. So on the cross-border project, this has not led to what we would have liked as results. The third element is clearly that there is a lot of concerns on the administrative burden of the linked to the RRF. It has not performed better than other instruments, and this is very important for this committee, but obviously very important for us as well. It has led to quite a number of questions in terms of audit and control system, and this is clear in the series of the different reports that the Court of Auditors have been doing. I think it's been very much audited, this program. There is a large number of different reports of the Court of Auditors that should definitely inform us whenever we are thinking about developing new instruments, raising some questions that we may not all share, but at least raising some questions on how it is done in terms of auditing and control, whether it is optimally designed or not. And then finally, one point which would be extremely important for the next MFF is the flexibility of the EU budget. I think the one lesson that everybody can agree on, looking back the 3-4 last years, is that clearly the MFF, as it was conceived, was not flexible enough to react to the different challenges and crises that we have been faced with. And in this context, the RRF also has not been an example of flexibility in adapting to the new circumstances. We have to recognize that it's been developed in very difficult environment. Only 1 year after the program the national plans were adopted, the war in Ukraine, there was the war in Ukraine, and the whole macroeconomic environment of those plans have changed with the inflation and the interest rate developments that we discussed earlier. And this has led to a reprogramming. This was the repower chapter in the RRF that took some time in 2023 and maybe also explain, for example, some delays in the implementation of this instrument in 2023. So basically, I think those 4 elements we can say already now that have not been delivering to what we could have expected. Of course, we are, on the other hand, taking some interesting developments that has been brought by the RRF. For example, the link between reform and investment is a link that is mentioned in the political guidelines as something that we should work on for the next MFF and see how actually reforms can enable further the investment to make the most out of them. So this is very short analysis that we have on the RRF. We're doing the same for every single other instruments that we have in the budget. We are doing the same with our cohesion funds, the social funds. My colleagues are here. They will speak much more deeply about the successes and the less successes of those policies. But that's what the Director General for Budget will be doing in full cooperation with the other Director General in the Commission. We bring this collective intelligence of what has worked, what has not worked, to inform and design options for the future MFF, enshrined in the direction of travel that has been set out by the political guidelines of the President. I hope I answered your question.